Hello and welcome to ZuluNet. We are doing a kind of a different video here today. So I'm taking, if you saw our last battle report, and I'll link it here. Then I'm taking that battle report. I'm gonna go over what happened in that battle report. Okay, so kind of the tactics, a little bit of like 40K-ology, if you will. I'm by no means like a professional player or anything like that, but we'll discuss what happened in this game, kind of go a little bit more into depth as like the tactics that were used, the stratagems, the ideas, the strategy overall, kind of what I was thinking and what my opponent Kyle was thinking. Hopefully we'll go into depth with that a little bit, and things can make a little bit more sense to you guys, especially newer players. All right, so here we have turn one, and this is after both Kyle and I have moved. Not very much happened in the shooting phase as far as I went first, right? So not very much happened. I took out one of his Deathcopters with shooting from the Plague Marines, surprisingly enough. Yeah, that was my first time going up against Deathcopters, and they were surprisingly, they look a lot tougher than they actually are. They only have 2 wounds, and I was like, able to pop it pretty well. So, but you can see kind of the movement. So Kyle initially, he deployed back over here, right? And we were kind of talking about it after the game, and he kind of messed up his deployment a little bit because he has the custom force field on the Morkanaut here, and he deployed it over here. And I think if memory serves, yeah, he placed the Morkanaut first. And then after that, I got to placing some stuff, and he realized that he had kind of screwed that up a little bit, and that he wished that he had placed that Morkanaut closer because he had that custom force field. And so he ended up having to so the Relic is over here, right? We're playing the Relic. He basically, he would have put it more center, somewhere in here, and so that he could force his guys a little bit closer to that Relic. But because he did that, he had it over here. He had all of his Ork boys were like over here in this little alley, this little street, and then he had his Warp Head back here. So kind of see he basic Ork strategy, running up, right, tossing for this Relic. And my biggest concerns here, so I went first, kind of deployed my guys around here and kind of went up here, right? So my idea, my biggest fears essentially, okay, was first of all that giant Morkanaut. That's a toughness 8. Morkanaut has a stupid amount of wounds. He can heal those wounds. He's got the big mech inside, so he can heal a lot of those wounds. But essentially, my biggest concerns here is that toughness 8, right? That's going to be really hard to chew through. The only thing that I have in the list that can actually really potentially do anything to this is my Demon Princes. They had Malefic talons, right? So strength 7 against a T8, that's not very favorable. I did bring a Malignant Plaguecaster, and both the Demon Princes, obviously they have Psycherness, right? So I could do Putrescent Vitality, or I could do Blades of Putrefaction, right? So Blades of Putrefaction, if you are unknown to it, it allows you to, it adds 1 to your wound roll. And then Putrescent Vitality, it adds 1 strength and 1 toughness to whoever you vitalize, right? And so I usually, my build, this is like my favorite Death Guard-y thing, is the Demon Prince of Nurgle with, I'm making my Warlord. I give him the Tainted Regeneration Warlord trait, which is pretty ridiculous just because you regain a wound, you heal a wound at the start of each player's turn, right? So throughout the course of an entire battle round, you heal 2 wounds, right? So that can come into huge, that can come into effect pretty big, you regaining those wounds. So I'll do that. So use my Warlord, and then I'll give him the Suppurating plate. So one of the biggest frustrations that I have with Demon Princes and with Hellbrutes is that they have, and other such, I'm pretty sure Dreadnoughts are in the same boat, is that they have a 3-up armor save, and on models that only have 8 wounds in 8th edition 40k where it stands right now, with the amount of just sheer firepower that a lot of people can put on the board, those things can just get popped so easy because they have a 3-up. I mean, most of the heavy weapons, right, that you're worried about targeting your hell brutes or whatnot, your demon princes, they also have AP value, right? So now that 3-up armor save starts melting away pretty fast, right? So the demon princes, they have the character keyword, so you can bury them into a force. But anyways, Suppurating Plate, it gives him a 2-up armor save instead of a 3-up, and then which is huge, right? And then Kyle has named it the Stop Hitting Yourself relic, because each saved wound in the assault phase, in the fight phase, so like I fight with the demon prince and then you fight back or whatever, and then you have 4 wounds come up against me and I save all 4 of them, right? Now if I take those 4 wounds, I roll on a 4-up, a mortal wound goes back to you, right? So that's pretty cool, especially if you're dealing with a lot of like a high number of attacks coming at you that are not, there's no AP or anything like that. You can end up dishing back a pretty hefty number of wounds. So yeah, Suppurating Plate, and then I'll put like, probably I end up usually putting Putrescent Vitality. But anyways, all of that to say, a little bit of my listology here, all of that to say, those 2 demon princes were the only thing feasible that I really had to take care of that Morganite. You're probably noticing that I keep on saying demon princes in the plural. So I had one over here, and basically in turn 1, all right, so if you're unfamiliar with orcs, they can do the orc on the war boss on a bike, right? And that sucker can move, all right, because orcs, they have WOG, which means, or whatever it's called now, where they can move, and then they can advance, and then they can charge, right? So with the bike, it's already a big movement. Then you get the turbo boost, which is way better than just advancing, and then you get the charge. So he deployed him way over here, and I did a poor job of screening this backside of my demon prince, moved my guys up, and then he was able to get all the way over here into combat with my demon prince. Then his war boss hit first. I completely lucked out, and he like just whiffed, and I saved a lot with Disgusting Resilience. And basically I fought back. My demon prince killed the war boss, right? But then he used the orc only in Death is Due to End, where he fights again before he dies. And so he fought back with that stratagem and killed my demon prince. So ultimately that definitely was a win for me, right? Trading that demon prince for his war boss, which I lost the demon prince anyways, but that probably his war boss should have outright killed my demon prince before he even got a chance to strike back. He didn't, so that was awesome. And a war boss over here loose in this squishy mess of Plague Marines would have just been the worst, right? Especially with me deploying this guy. The reason I deployed this demon prince way over here was to give reroll 1s to hit for the Plague Burst Crawler. So, alright, so you can see here, let's get back to the game. He's moving up. I'm worried about the Morganite. The Relic is right here. It's pretty close, right? So you'll notice some tombstones. If you're familiar with our games, we utilize these tombstones to indicate deaths on the battlefield to help the viewer and us kind of track what's going on. So the orcs, right? If you are interested at all in the orcs, then this thing is just awesome. It makes me want to play orcs so bad. So it's a psychic ability that is called the Jump, right? So he's got his warp head back here. So he took his rearmost orc boy unit, and then he threw them. It's a psychic ability. It's not a stratagem, right? It's not like a once per game stratagem, which is kind of what makes sense to me. No, it's a psychic ability, so you can do it every single turn. And he throws this orc squad that's over here all the way up here. Okay, and he still has to maintain like the 9-inch rule, right? Whenever you're kind of deep striking stuff, but was able to pull the charge off, all right, from here to here, because orcs also they can re-roll one or both of their charge dice. All right, so it could still completely fail, but having that re-roll for orcs is definitely increases the odds, obviously, right? So he gets them in, and we do some fight, and then again, his orcs here were just lackluster in their fighting ability. So really lucked out by weathering the storm in this first turn. But also that being said too, with Death Guard, all right, Plague Marines, and they have their toughness 5, okay, and they have Disgusting Resilient, which is a Feel No Pain, a 5-up. 5-up Disgusting Resilient, and if you're not familiar with Disgusting Resilience or Feel No Pain or that verbology, basically all it is you roll for your armor saves or whatever, and then whatever wounds go through, then you get an extra roll on top of that after all of the wounds have been allocated, and then on a 5-up, you don't take that wound, right? So over the course of a game, especially with a good healthy swath of Plague Marines, and a lot of other Death Guard units have the Disgusting Resilience rule, then it makes a difference, okay? So I remember that from this combat, you know, he's orcs, he's on the charge, he's doing good, he's got all the attacks, right? But I weathered the storm with these 2 Plague Marine squads because I had that Disgusting Resilience go off. Also, little listology, I've got a Plague Surgeon buried in, I think it's this guy, they're all green, who cares? I got a Plague Surgeon in there that he allows rerolls of 1s on Disgusting Resilient rolls for infantry models, which again, that one is another take if you're doing like infantry Death Guard Disgusting Resilience stuff. It's definitely something to look at, and it's pretty cheap too. I think it's like, I don't know, I want to say it's like 60 points or 55 points or something. It's very cheap. All right, so yeah, so that's turn 1. Kind of see what's going on. Again, I just moved up. I didn't want to advance or anything because I knew that some orkiness was about to happen, which it did. I weathered the storm, fortunately enough. Also, you see these 2 Deathcopters kind of running flank out here. So the thing about these Deathcopters is what they're good for is they're good for harassment, right? So they can move fast, but they're not very big damage dealers, and they're not very big. They don't have a lot of staying power. They can die pretty easily. I do believe that they're T5. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they're T5, and so they can withhold, you know, an onslaught, if you will. However, they can just as easily just get popped, right? But you can throw them like Kyle did. Throw them over here, get them in my back line, and hold up a lot of my infantry while the rest of his orc squad stuff goes running in to make my day a lot worse. So that's kind of his strategy going on. I think these Deathcopters are pretty cheap. I don't think you see them a lot in orc lists, but it's interesting, you know. They do have a strategy to them. They do. They're not completely useless. All right, turn 2. Now this is just my Death Guard. The Death Guard movement, or excuse me, Death Guard turn 2. Okay. So Kyle has not gotten a chance to move yet. All right, so you see movement over here. Move my Plague Burst Crawler up and my Demon Prince. All right, so my idea here is get into this position over here where potentially I could get a charge off without any Overwatch. Not necessarily this turn. I don't even think I tried it this turn. I think I found like a little hole in the window to be able to see through so I could smite him or something. But that being said, that's kind of another reason why I put my Demon Prince over here. because he put his Morkanot over here, kind of like teeing them off together, just because I knew that my Demon Prince was the best chance to take this sucker out, and then I was pretty confident that once this thing was gone, if not, definitely not in the bag, but a whole lot better. A whole lot better outlook for my game. Alright, so moving them up, you know, just kind of bringing these guys down, kind of moving closer to that Relic. This whole Deathcopter, you're going to see these guys are just going to be really, really annoying. Orc turn 2 movement and such is done. Alright, so you can see during my turn, I was able to finish off this Orc Boy squad, move my guys up a little bit closer through the pile-in and the consolidation. And then he's got the other 2 Deathcopters in, so 3 Deathcopters giving me a little headache over here. And the Morkanot, so I don't think this gap here is big enough for the Morkanot. I'm pretty sure he was tempted to try and go after this little mess over here. Yeah, so again, it's pretty simple strategy. I will say losing that war boss for him early on was very deflating. Again, like that's a huge linchpin to his list, to Orcs. He loses the Wog ability. He still has the Warp Head, right? So he can still do the jump. And then Orcs, they do have some interesting stratagems and stuff that they can utilize to kind of really, let's say be unconventional, if you will. So now we're getting into some fisticuffs here. That Morkanot got in. All right, this is turn 3, and he got that charge off from that last position, that position to there. He got that charge off, and I was just really worried about this sucker. I'd never played against a Morkanot. Pretty worried that that thing was just going to start just munching on my Plague Marines. And I've got my... This is my Plague Surgeon. Leave me alone. I couldn't find my Plague Surgeon model right before this game, so I just used my Noxious Blightbringer to deal with it. And then my Malignant Plaguecaster. I think there's like 1 Plague Marine that survived from that front squad. The other squad is over here. The other squad... Oh, look. You see that? I know it's all green, but that's an Orc unit. You know why? Because he did the jump again. And he jumped his dudes way over here. Moving my Demon Prince up this way again. This is my only chance here in my mind, and really in reality as well, of getting that sucker out. So my plan here, pop Putrescent Vitality, get that +1, charge up my Demon Prince, charge him in, and maybe get lucky, you know? Kill this thing, or at least bracket it severely before it has a chance to squash my Demon Prince. So, but yeah, and then he's doing some orkiness, like I said, with the jump. So, kind of surrounding me here, right? Over here, so the thing with the Plague Burst Crawler, all right, is they have the little Sponsoon weapons. You can either take kind of like a laser cannon variant, if you will, that has like less range, but it's still a strength 8, and it's either AP3 or AP4. It's high AP. Or you can take like the stock option, which is like these like Plague Spears or something that they're called. But they're a really strong flamer weapon. And if you're not familiar with flamer weapons and with like charging, it's like they're great against infantry because all of their attacks hit, right? And so I have 2 of them there. So my idea, all right, is get this guy over here, and maybe this squad I can retreat them and then just mow the rest of the squad down, right? It's kind of my idea, moving them a little bit closer. Or if I can kill this Morkanot here, then he will be in good position to maybe run up, scorch some Orcs, so that I can maybe grab the Relic with one of my dudes here, because in the Relic only infantry models, so my Demon Prince and the Morkanot, these 2 models cannot. But game wise, I'm really not liking where I'm at as the Death Guard player, because the Relic is right here, right, and he has a giant wall of a Morkanot in front of me, in front of my forces that can actually grab it, and the rest of his infantry, which he could totally just run up here, grab it, and run away. So I need to kill this Morkanot, like now, like time now, and I don't think I can do it. So here we go, getting in my Demon Prince, getting in. So 5 wounds left on the Morkanaut. They fought back. My Demon Prince only has 4, but remember he has Tainted Regeneration. Alright, so he's re-healing a lot of those. This this Orc boy squad. Alright, so this was something that was a misunderstanding on my part. So that I knew of the existence of a stratagem, where it's like the Undiable Green Horde or whatever the crap it's called. You get to bring in an Orc squad full strength from the side of the table, as long as it's like 9 inches away from an enemy model. And now just imagine that with, this is a 1,000-point game, right? But in like a normal game where you can get up to 30 Orc boys in one squad, and you go through and fight them, and then they just come right back. I mean, that could just be completely demoralizing. Okay, so I knew of the existence. However, I thought, I was a little screwed up here, I thought that the Orc boy squad had to be completely wiped out in order for him to trigger that stratagem. And this was completely wrong. This is completely wrong. So actually, what it is in fact is, if I kill the Orc boy squad outright, then he can't do the stratagem. But if he has even one Orc boy left, then he can do the stratagem and bring him back in full strength. I kind of mentioned falling back with these guys and torching them with the Plague Burst Crawler. That's why I didn't do that, because I completely misunderstood that stratagem. And then he did it, and I was like, wait, what? And then he explained it to me. I was like, oh. So, if you're if you're not familiar with that, and you're gonna play some Orcs, you should understand that difference. 5 wounds left on the Morkanaut. Again, another giant wall, and he just got those Orc boys up to be able to grab the relic. And at this point, he could just run away into the back of the corner. And I could run away with the Demon Prince and go kill him, but then I don't have, even if I did that, I don't even have any infantry close enough that's even realistically going to be getting around that giant Morkanaut. Not to mention, I only have, like, I think 2 Plague Marines over here, 3 Plague Marines over here, another freaking stupid Orc boy full up squad that they're going to have to deal with. So, yeah, as far as infantry only being able to take the relic, bad news bears for me. So you might be wondering where the Morkanaut is. It's dead. So I fought first. That was going into my turn, the last picture that you saw. I fought first with my Demon Prince, killed the Morkanaut, which was huge. You'll notice now I have 5 wounds. 5 wounds left here on my Demon Prince. And also, so cool thing, you know, Demon Princes, they can take wings. 24 points for some wings. It's huge. Alright, so my Putrescent Vitality, Suppurating Plate, Tainted Regeneration, Malefic Talons, Demon Prince, the absolute star of my Death Guard lists. Yeah, so he jumped over from this point over here. I was able to maintain, you know, get 1 inch away from all of his stuff. And the reason I did this was because the only other thing that I'm realistically worried about right now at this point is that Warp Head. I know it's not like a really big deal, but it offers a lot of flexibility to the Orc player, so I wanted to get rid of that and also start mowing into the back end of those Orcs in case he decides to start to like grab that relic and just start running the other direction. I can be there to kill them and then have my infantry run up and grab the relic, right? That's kind of my idea. Just remember, if they have wings, that they can do stuff like this. They can jump over things, right? They can ignore terrain and all that. Like, it can be huge, especially like late game. Taking wings, like it's 24 points on the Demon Prince, but that can be a very, very, very wise investment. Yep. So that is the end of this, kind of the end of game state, if you will. Yeah, all those Orc boys, my Demon Prince, between the Suppurating Plate and then just the Demon Prince and Morale, wiped up the rest of those Orc boys and the Warp Head. All he has left over here is this big mech. And this squad is just completely out of position to do anything. I can take this now. Now I can take the Relic and run the other direction, and there's not much that he can do about it. Not to mention, this is easily... This can be wiped up pretty handedly by this Demon Prince. And by the time, let's say, even in one turn, he's going to be sitting at 6 or maybe even 7 wounds before he goes into those Orc boys. He's going to take care of a whole bunch of them and probably auto-fail their morale for the rest of them like he did this last squad that he just got into. Either way, Demon Prince, super big MVP. So yeah, so keynotes, that war boss, alright, if you're playing Orcs, or if you want to play Orcs, the war boss on the bike is just an amazing, amazing model. You can get in there with that power claw, and that sucker can just start murking dudes, right? Which is what should have happened on my Demon Prince, the fat one without wings that you haven't seen in this. He should have killed him outright, my Demon Prince. The war boss should have killed him outright, but he didn't. So that was huge, and then I was able to kill him and take him off the map. So it was a risky play by him in the sense that he overextended and left his war boss vulnerable in that sense, but he definitely was not expecting to lose him that soon, and he was expecting to kill my Demon Prince, who did not have the Suppurating plate, mind you. He only had the regular 3-up save. And at one point, and I think it was there, I made a ridiculous amount of disgusting resilient saves. So yeah, so there's that. The wings on the Demon Prince is huge, and then the Morkanaut being T8. Right, so when you're building your list, you just got to think about, all right, generally T8 is going to be the highest toughness you're going to see. All right, it's not super common by any means, but if they do show up with it, and you don't have anything to handle that. Like, I didn't have anything natural on this list that could really handle that Morkanaut. I could buff my Demon Princes, but they wouldn't have been able to really handle that. And like I know that the first engagement when the Morkanaut went up in the middle of the field right here, and my Demon Prince was sitting there, and he dove in, he failed his Putrescent Vitality cast, right? And that's like a Warp Charge 5. Like, that was so upsetting, right? Because I really needed that, because that was the only way for me to get a T8 or a Strength 8 weapon to go against that Toughness 8. So that's definitely something you got to think about. So my list was able to handle it, because I was eventually able to get that T8 off and handle that situation. But have a plan for Toughness 8. Have a plan for Toughness 8, okay? Another huge takeaway from this game is the Orcs and their ability to move. So to jump, taking a Psyker and be able to jump boys elsewhere is, or I think it's infantry models, I'm not sure, but either way, just being able to throw dudes across the map and be like, yeah, I'm going to go take this objective, or I'm going to get in your face, and like what he was doing, and kind of doing an entire like delay tactic, if you will. I think he was hoping to pick up a Plague Marine squad, which he did not. However, just throwing that up there to where I have to get hung up and go through this Orc boy squad that he threw up there to even get to the Relic, which the rest of his force can just start running up to grab it, right? And be able to get that Morkanaut way up into my side of the table. And it definitely, you know, changes the flavor of the game, if you will. But being able to do that, and then being able to throw this squad over here and get this whole surrounding thing. And then his utilization of the Deathcopters was pretty... It wasn't clutch, but it was extremely annoying. So he had his 3 come up this way, got them all tied up into there. I killed all but 1. Or no, I killed all those 3, yeah, and then he brought this in with Deep Strike, and then was able to tie up my Plague Burst Crawler on a pretty significant turn where I was really hoping to unload into some boys. I was not able to because I was tied up in combat with that Deathcopter that remains there with the 1 wound. But yeah, no, just being able to throw like the jump, and then that stratagem where you can bring back a full strength squad. It's pretty clutch. It's weird. It's hard to wrap your head around if you're not experienced playing with Orcs. It can throw you for a loop, and vice versa. If you are an Orc player and you're playing someone that's not experienced, then you can really screw with their whole strategy by just doing weird things like that. And I love that about the Orcs. I think it's very fitting to how they should be played and how their style and their feel. Also too, and my general strategy with this list was to have the Plague Marines, the 3 squads of 7 Plague Marines, be there just to be difficult to be resilient, disgustingly resilient, if you will, right? So having, right, it's a 3-up armor save, all right, cool, but having the 5-up disgusting resilience, right, 5-up feel no pain, and then having the Plague Surgeon. Like, I saved a ridiculous amount of wounds because of disgusting resilience in this game. And then shortly after the next video, or one of the next videos that we put up, I had another list. It was a 2,000 point list against Orks, not the same Orks, different player, different entire list philosophy as far as that Ork list goes. But I had 7 squads of 7 Plague Marines, all the fluff, but it actually worked pretty decently because I had 2 Plague Surgeons. I was able to break them up. All that to say, do not forget how much the Plague Marines and other Death Guardy type things can deny the enemy or deny your opponent by sitting on an objective and just refusing to die, right? Or other such things like that. Whenever you go in, I know that T5 in both of these Ork games that I'm talking about here was a huge problem because having that toughness 5 to go up against with a bunch of strength 4 weapons, it made it, and then whatever wounds that you do get through with that 5 up to wound, now, you know, a third of them get saved by the 5 up disgusting resilience. Over the course of a game, especially when you're talking about a decent number of Plague Marines out there, a decent number of bodies, that definitely comes into effect. That takes a factor for sure. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that you can take some of these little nuggets from this experience and plug it into your game if you're playing Death Guard or Orks, right? I hope this helped you, especially if you're new to the game, right? Being able to see this, I'm with this whole format, I want to, like I said, explain things a little bit better, flesh them out a little bit more so that these lessons from these games can be more apparent so that newer players can take those lessons, put them into their lists, put them into their game, put them into their toolbox, and be able to utilize them and get better and enjoy, most part, enjoy the game more. That is what the whole point of the game is, right? To enjoy it. And I want everyone to enjoy 40K to the utmost. So, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for sticking around. Check us out on, obviously, YouTube. Subscribe and do all that jazz. We've got a Facebook, and we've got Instagram. Search ZuluNet. You'll be able to find us there. Check us out. Hope you enjoyed it, and have a wonderful day.